This could save you thousands in the long run. Not all scores are FICO scores, and to make it even more complicated, there's over 36 versions of FICO. How do you even know what is real? If you're buying a house in the near future and concerned about your credit score, you need to keep tuning in. I'm going to give you real facts, no BS, about what you need to know about credit scores. Every week as a loan officer, I hear the same story. I always ask clients, what do you think your credit score is? And they tell me X. And when I pull the credit, it is different. Now, sometimes it's only a few points different, but I've seen it be different over 100 points. There's no pattern, and I can't tell you which one yours will be because credit scores are very much individualized. So we're going to be unpacking that here. The good news for you is I've got almost 3 decades as a loan officer, and I've been pulling credit scores ever since mortgage companies started using credit scores about 18 years ago. And I've gotten really good at knowing the difference. So that's what I'm going to give you in this video. First, what is a FICO score? So a FICO score is a 3-digit number that is compiled from data from all of the credit bureaus. The credit bureaus currently are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. So just a quick bit history for you so you understand, like, who is this FICO person anyway? FICO scores started in 1989, but it goes back even farther than that. It stems from 1970 when the Fair Credit Reporting Act was passed, and the government said to the then only one bureau was existing at that time for credit, and that was Equifax. But they weren't called Equifax back then. They were called the Retail Credit Company, RCC for short. And they were compiling all kinds of information on clients that would make the current government head spin. They were, sexual orientation. They were collecting all kinds of personal data. And that's why the government came out with the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And they said, hey, you, RCC, need to release all this information and make it available to the public. And RCC was like, uh-oh, what are we doing over here? So to create some more chaos and avoid this bad name they'd created for themselves, they renamed themselves, and Equifax was born. Now, the Fair Credit Reporting Act came out in 1989. The only gig in town was Equifax. Now, years later, to have some competition, some other companies started to transpire, and that's when TransUnion and Experian started to surface. So there you have it. They are the 3 credit bureaus that we have today. Now, FICO. FICO at that time was adopted because the Fair Isaac Corporation, FICO, was well known in the tech world as having an algorithm that they had developed that was very accurate in being able to weight information. So they were approached by all this credit atmosphere saying, hey, we're going to use your algorithm when we're going to call it a FICO score because you, Mr. FICO, are the most reliable algorithm that there is at the time. And this company dated back to like 1954. So there you have it. That's the history. That is who FICO is, and it still stands today. Now, it's important for you to know that since then, I'm actually going to show you on the screen the versions of FICO. Like, it made my head spin when I looked at it. There's over 36 versions of FICO. Now, did you know that every so often a new version comes out? Like at the recording of this video, we're actually on version number 9, and this is 2024. Version 10 is in the works. Now, every time a new version comes out, it is not mandatory for companies, credit cards, automakers. It is not mandatory for them to update their system with a new version of FICO. And let me let you in on a little secret. To update the version of FICO, it costs money, y'all. Now, companies roll along, they're giving you this free service, you log into your bank account. I want you to think about it. Hey, for free, we're going to give you this service called a score Now, we don't know if it's a FICO score. Even if it's a FICO score, which one of the 36 that you saw on the screen a bit ago is it going to be? It costs them money to update that version of FICO. Maybe they didn't pay it, right? Maybe they didn't pay the money for the most updated version of FICO. So how do you know what version you're getting? Mortgage companies are always up to date, and there's also industry-specific FICO scores that pertain to different industries. Now, I'm going to put those names on the screen again because I want you to really notice the words auto, the words bank card. Does that resonate with you at all? That if you're on your bank card, like a credit card, that FICO version, yeah, it's a FICO score, but that version is different than what the mortgage companies are pulling, okay? Now, do you know which one? It will drive you crazy trying to figure out which version of FICO, what about this, version 8, FACTA, this, that. There's all kinds of different names. The bottom line is you need to go to a mortgage lender. That is the bottom line. I want you to educate yourself. That's the purpose of this video. The place where I found all this information is on myfico.com. I personally like this site better than all of them. MyFICO, MyFICO. If you log in, or you don't even have to have a login, you just go there as a person and you go up to the education tab up at the top. This is where you're going to find all kinds of information. In fact, I was like nerding out the other day doing, some updated research for this video. And they even have a forum where you're asking the big wigs of FICO. They have these open office hours where you can ask them anything. And there were 19,000 comments on this one thing. So if you ever are looking for something to do and you're really curious, I would hop into that forum and I would ask some questions, okay? So now, back to what really is my score? How do you know? Number one, I think you need to know that what you're seeing as a consumer is not what the lender is seeing. I think that's the most important thing for you to know. Yes, you're getting a gauge, and it's definitely powerful information. But if you're looking for a house in the next 12 months, I implore you to get with a lender, get with a mortgage lender sooner than later, and let them pull your credit, okay? That is the number one way that you're gonna know where am I and what homework do I need in order to get to the right spot. Okay, to top it off, I wanna give you a big backdoor secret into how, in the mortgage world, how the FICO scores are weighted. This is a really good visual that you can see that the top two areas are amounts owed and payment history. So, for example, if you have had a late payment or a collection, either or, some type of a derogatory event in the last 12 months when we're pulling the credit score in the mortgage version, that's like a bullet to your score. You're probably 50 to 100 points less than you normally would be. So recent derogatory activity, as you can see here, is 35% of your score. Now, the second thing I'll tell you is that the fastest way to increase your score is to look at your percent utilization. Check out 30% of your score is amounts owed. So we call this utilization. It's based on individual credit cards. So it's not the cumulative amount of your credit cards. It looks at each individual credit card and says, hey, your limit on this one is $1,000. That's how much they've told you can spend, and you're always at $999. So when you're maxed out. So you need to try to maintain 30% utilization whenever you can. And the balance that's reporting is the balance. Are you ready for it? This is the big secret. The balance on the day that your statement cuts off. So my credit card cuts off on the 9th. So my bill is due and it's paid on the 6th. So that goes away. And then there's 2 or 3 days, and whatever I've been spending since the last cutoff date is appearing. And that's what's reported on the 9th. So it's a little tricky. And usually it probably doesn't matter except when you're trying to get a mortgage. So when you are preparing yourself a year ahead, 6 months ahead, as much as you can, you are going to be in the win. And this, y'all, could save you thousands of dollars. The interest rates are definitely calculated on what your score is, okay? So you want to watch some of our other videos, hop over to Loan with Jen, YouTube. I've got videos on FHA loans, VA loans, conventional loans, and how credit scores affect things like rates, etc. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Take care.